You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. Huge weekend for this past weekend for the Tigers in recruiting. Brian Kelly and his staff hosted a slew of official visitors. Mike Scarborough from Tiger Bait good enough to join us for a couple of minutes now to recap the weekend out on campus. Mike, great to have you, man. How are you?
Hey, doing good, man. It's just got less than 48 hours, and this thing's going to be real interesting, I think.
Okay, so let's just start there then. When you say real interesting, are you anticipating coming out of this weekend that LSU will gain signees on top of, say, the 11 that they already have committed?
Or is it a combination of a guy like Jadarian Rim, and then you maybe he gets flipped to Auburn, but you add Quincy Wiggins and then Kendrick Law, who goes down on Friday. You know, what does it end up looking like by the end of the week? How many guys are we actually going to be following on Wednesday that there's some worry about? I know there's some people that kind of worry about Mason Taylor in Alabama with him. How firm is DeMario Tolan? But I think overall you probably come out of this week in the first period kind of feeling like you might have weathered the worst of the storm. But there's going to be some people who are greedy and going to be upset that you lost a fruit. There's people who are upset about losing Austin Osbury this morning. So I'm of the mindset don't go out and extend yourself and maybe take some kids to fill in some spots. You know, it might actually be a good thing that if you've got a lot of vacant spots left to really hammer the transfer portal because there's going to be a lot of need positions on that roster.
Oh, we got a little time. So
places where you need immediate help.
Yeah, no, we got a little time, so we're going to delve into all of that. And if you've got a question for Mike, you can jump in and get it to it. Mike's being very generous to give us a couple of segments. Okay, let's go back into this weekend, Mike. Just if you could, understanding that not everybody is so deep into the weeds in recruiting all year round, but this is the time where people are like, all right, give me the overview. Give us, if you would, the 10,000-foot view of the weekend recap for LSU. What happened? Who was there? What was significant about it?
I think what's significant about it is while we're all on the outside edges, maybe wringing hands or getting nervous because there's no coordinators named. And I think some of the parents of the players were kind of in the same boat going to the weekend, that the sell job by Brian Kelly was so substantial that they're not even worried about that anymore, that he was that impressive with the recruits and their families. And so I think that's, to me, the overhead view. And then, look, you want to get everybody. The reason why you cut loose Ed Orgeron so early is because you want to maintain and hold on to what's considered a great year in the state of Louisiana in recruiting, the 22 class. But at the same time, I think with what you've gone through and what your needs are, I think there's going to be some guys you lose. But are those guys necessarily the difference makers? I think you've held on to all the difference makers except one, and that's Aaron Anderson from Carr. So the transfer portal to me is just going to be the big deal.
Okay. I want to get to the portal. Let me ask you a few more though about what you touched on there. You mentioned that the coordinators, and Mike, I'm sure for you it's the same as me. This is the biggest question I get: is not only who are they going to hire, but how big of a deal is it for the early signing period that they don't have their coordinator's name? So you alluded to it there, but if you would elaborate a little bit on how big of a deal that is, or maybe what this coaching staff is telling the recruits right now without coordinators in place.
Well, look, I know without naming names that there was some people I was talking to a week or two ago that were like, we're not signing unless we know who the offensive coordinator is or who the defensive coordinator is. And then after Brian Kelly goes to the high school and they spend time with him this weekend and talk golf and everything else, they're singing a different tune, and you can't get them the paperwork fast enough. So I kind of believe, unless there's something that we don't know about, my hunch is that he probably knows who his coordinators are right now.
Yeah.
And those guys either staying put because they're wanting to, help their current employer out and not ruining their signing day on Wednesday, and then they'll head to LSU from there, or they're coaching a playoff team. So I think all those kids believe that whoever he's going to bring on board is going to be somebody pretty substantial, and they trust him.
Mike Scarborough is with us. He's on Twitter at ScarboroughMike, TigerBait.com. All right, so you kind of alluded to there. How candid will a head coach be with recruits or families about that? Like, maybe they know who it's going to be. They'll tell recruits and families, but not come public with it. Like, is there any you know what I'm saying? Like, is there any concern that, okay, you tell them it's going to be this guy, but you don't want that to leak? How do you play that?
I don't think he's done that.
Okay.
I don't think he's done that. And believe me, I've tried to ask some.
I bet you have.
Did you ask a question? Did he have a look in his eye? Like, I mean, could you get a sense where, like, you could probably see it in Brian Kelly's eyes. He's got big blue eyes. It's like, did he light up like a Christmas tree did you pepper him? He goes, no, I didn't pepper him. Well, I just think the guy knows. Mm-hmm. And when you're paying the kind of salaries that LSU does, I just think it's going to be somebody very good. So I think we're going to know sooner than later. I mean, I know some people out there that think maybe LSU's fighting and other schools are matching what LSU's offering and they're getting in a bidding war. And I don't know. We'll see. We're just going to have to wait it out.
Okay. We will talk transfer portal, and we'll get to listener questions coming up in our next segment. I wanted to ask you about Austin Osbury since you brought him up. Most people know that's Verge's son, and he's a cornerback at U High, and he committed today to Auburn, so he'll sign on Wednesday with Auburn. Mike, what can you tell us about that? Because that's going to look odd to the common fan who goes, man, Verge's kid isn't going to LSU. So what can you tell us?
Yeah, I'm watching the CBS HQ announcement of that online, and they kept saying that he's a legacy and the son of a former LSU Tiger, but they never did they mention that he was the son of an athletics director. But yeah, look, I mean, a week and a half ago, we were getting hit with rumors that Austin had committed to Billy Napier in Florida. So I kind of feel like throughout the whole recruiting process that he was probably not going to be an LSU signee. But then talking to recruits who were there this weekend for the official visit, it had me last night thinking that Brian Kelly had changed his mind, and I actually put in a prediction for LSU last night, and then this morning I was told it wasn't LSU. So, but I think Brian Kelly actually absolutely tried to bring him into the fold, and I think the other recruits that were there believed that he was.
Mike, should we read anything into that deeper with the relationship with, say, Verge or Brian Kelly? Just, natural connect the dots that a lot of people are going to say. Should we read anything into that, or is this just a kid that wanted to go carve his own path?
Man, without knowing the dynamics there, the psychology of it, he's the oldest kid. Does he want to chart his own path? I'm sure Jaden's a totally different kid because he's the younger baby brother. Does he prefer to stay close to home if you believe in, that whole age and birth order thing like I do? I don't know. We'll see. I tell you what, I know a lot of people throughout the recruiting process would always say, well, yeah, Austin, but what about his brother? That's the really good one. Well, man, I actually think Austin's a very good player, and I actually think he's a late bloomer, and I think I just got on the phone with a guy from Auburn. I think he's going to play, and I think he's going to get bigger and stronger. He can flat out run. So I really believe Brian Kelly absolutely put forward the effort to get him and fell short. I think the kid wants to chart his own path, and I think there's maybe some instances where, maybe he's seen some, legacy sons and that have been on the roster that didn't, get there or have their career they wanted, and how that worked out, and maybe didn't want to put his dad in that position.
And one of them's a quarterback at Auburn that just entered the transfer portal this weekend in Bo Nix. So, I mean, there is something to it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.